Ciao and welcome back to Little Red Roaming. I'm your host, Little Red, and this week we're going to continue what we started working on last week, which is planning a trip and figuring out what your budget for that trip is going to be. Now last week I told you to figure out your destination because that's the first step, is knowing where you want to go. So let's continue from there. Alright, so my destination is that I'm going to fly to London and then I'm going to stay there for a week. Then I will fly from there to Thailand, where I want to stay for about a month. And then I'm going to fly back home to Boston. Now that I know where I'm going and how many flights are involved, what I need to figure out is what time of year am I going to go? Because the cost of travel changes drastically over the course of the year. I avoid traveling during the summer for the most part because the summer is the most expensive time to travel. It's like the highest season. The spring and the fall are the best times to travel because they're not as popular. Although that is changing because of how many people are paying attention to these cost fluctuations and are starting to take advantage of that. But it's still negligible and it's still not the most popular time to travel for a majority of people who prefer vacationing over the summer when their kids are out of school and stuff like that. So the other thing I have to take into consideration, because I'm going to Thailand, it has a very different climate than where I'm from. It has a cool season, a rainy season, and a dry season. Now, I want to go there during the cool season because it won't be as, swelteringly hot, but it'll still be warmer than I'm used to here because it's a tropical area. I also don't really want to go during the rainy season because the roads will be super muddy and it just seems a little unpleasant. However, since the cool season is the most popular time to travel to Thailand, I've decided I'm going to time it right around the end of the rainy season and the beginning of the cool season. And since I'm planning to stay there for a month, I should get to experience a little bit of both seasons and get the weather that I want while I'm there, while avoiding the influx of the major crowds that come in midway through the cool season. That being said, my trip is going to start in September. So my plan is going to be to fly to London around September 18th and stay there for about a week. So I'll stay there till about September 25th. Then I will fly to Thailand, where I will stay for a month, or approximately till October 26th. So now I've covered the first two steps of planning a trip. Picking your destination, picking the dates you want to go. The next step is figuring out how much it's going to cost you to get there. So we're going to look at flights next. So now we've got our destination and we've set the dates that we're going. So what's next? Well, now you have to figure out how much it's going to cost you to get there. And this is where we start planning our budget. The first biggest expense that we're going to have that we need to take care of is the flights to where we're going. For my trip, there's going to be 3 flights total. To London, from London to Thailand, from Thailand back to Boston. What I prefer to use when I'm looking up flight prices is an app on my phone called Skyscanner. Skyscanner is awesome because it compares all the budget airlines as well as the big ticket airlines. You can set different parameters for your flight if you want it to be a non-stop flight or if you're okay with a bunch of long layovers. As a budget traveler, I'm totally cool with having a few hours free time in an airport, or maybe even time to explore the city a little bit as I'm traveling. So layovers don't deter me at all. However, perhaps you just don't want them. And Skyscanner is a great way to find the cheapest way to get somewhere with or without layovers. I find that when I compare the prices from Skyscanner to the Google flight search or to Kayak, Skyscanner always comes in below their price points. With these flights that I looked up, I think it was an $80 difference in total, which, I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're a penny pincher, every little dime that you can save counts. And that $80 extra could mean another couple of days that I can spend in Thailand or in London. So it makes a huge difference for how much you can stretch your travel out. So for my 3 flights, I'm going to be spending about $973. So that's great because I'm able to keep it under $1,000 for 3 flights, all of which are fairly long distance flights. If I cut London out, I would only be spending $746 on 2 flights, so from Boston to Thailand, Thailand to Boston. However, I would really like to stop in London, so I'm okay with eating that extra cost and adding that onto my budget. The thing too is that in London I have some friends that I might be able to stay with, so I won't have to worry about accommodation while I'm there. You might be planning a multi-country trip and notice that going to one country is going to cost you a lot more than if you were to just skip it. And so you might just say, well, you know what, I'll cut that country out, I'll use that budget to stay somewhere a little longer. And that's totally fine. That's fantastic. Make your budget work for you, make your trip and the map and the route that you take work for what you want to spend on this trip. So right now, just on flights, I'm at about $1,000, give or take. For a month-long trip, that's not bad at all. The next thing you want to start considering is accommodations in country. Let's look at some of the budget options. We can do couch surfing, which is free and fantastic because you get to meet so many cool people. There's also hostels, which are also a great way to meet people and really, really, really great budget-wise. And if you want a little bit more privacy, you can do Airbnbs. They're going to cost you a little bit more, but maybe you prefer that for your style of travel. Now, if you're okay with spending a chunk of change, there are hotels too. But hotels tend to be out of my budget. When I backpacked in Europe for 2 months, I spent a total of 4 nights in hotels. 2 of those were in Prague midway through my trip when I just needed that. I needed the bit of luxury. And the other 2 were in Paris because the friend I was traveling with opted to pay for the hotel because that's what she wanted to do. So those are a few of your options for where you can stay. I mean, there's plenty more. You could do volunteer work in exchange for somewhere to stay. You could even work in a hostel in exchange for your room and board there, which I know I've met a lot of travelers who do that. So figure out how you're going to travel, what type of accommodations you're going to use, because that's what you'll need to know in the back of your head to set a budget. So in London, I'm hoping to be able to just stay with my friends. I have many there that I'm going to be visiting and checking in with. But if they can't accommodate me, then I will probably stay in a hostel while I'm there. In Thailand, I'm looking at couch surfing as well as hosteling as an option. That'll keep me way, way under budget because hostels are so cheap in Thailand. So, so cheap. So for me, I use another app on my phone called Hostel World. They have a website as well that will let me compare a bunch of different hostels and has a lot of great reviews from people who have traveled there and stayed in each place. And there's usually a lot of pictures of each hostel too. So I find that this app is really, really helpful as I'm setting my budget because it gives me an idea of how much I'm going to spend on what level of quality for each hostel that I might stay at. In Thailand, I'm looking to spend under $10 a night in a hostel. Some of the good ones that have like an 8 out of 10 rating or above are like $5 a night. So that means that I can stay in Thailand for a month for under $200. How cool is that? How amazing is that cost-wise? I'm budgeting $250 though, just to give myself some wiggle room if I want to stay in a nicer hotel or if, the cheaper hostels are booked up and I need to stay somewhere that's a little bit more expensive for a night. $250 should be enough to cover my accommodations for a month in Thailand. So take a look on Hostel World if that's the direction you want to go with your traveling. See what your cost is going to be for the time frame that you're going to stay somewhere. You can also look on Airbnb. They have a nice website. They have a beautiful app as well that you can use to see what those prices are. Maybe compare and contrast, see how much of a difference you're going to be spending. I found Airbnbs for a month in Bangkok for around $500 to $600. So I would be spending more than double if I wanted to rent an Airbnb for a month. Which maybe that's the route you'd prefer to go. Maybe you want the privacy and this personal space without sharing it with a bunch of other people. And that's totally fine. Just figure that out for your budget. As of right now, my budget for this month-long trip is at $1,223. That includes all 3 of my flights, that includes my accommodations as well. Now there's a lot more that goes into the budget for the trip, and that's not where it ends. But that's where we're going to stop today, because I think I've given you guys quite a bit of homework. So let's review real quick all the steps I've gone over. First step, figure out where you're going. That is so important. Second step, when? When do you want to go there? And for how long are you going to stay there? That ties into there. Third step, start looking at your flights. Start figuring out how much a flight is going to cost around the time that you want to go. And your fourth step is to figure out your accommodations. What type of a traveler are you? Do you want to stay in hostels? Do you want to do couch surfing? Are you looking to stay in a hotel the whole time? Figure that out, because everyone is different and everyone's looking for something different out of their trip. Once you have those questions answered, you'll be able to really set a good chunk of your budget up, and you'll have an idea of how much this trip is really going to cost overall. If you're using the steps that I'm outlining to start planning a trip, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments, drop me a line and let me know. What are you planning? Where are you going to go? What does the budgeting system I'm giving you work out to look like for you right now? Have you come up against any snags, any issues? Do you have any questions? Just ask away, feel free. I would love to help you out if I can. You're also totally welcome to follow me on all of my other social media avenues. I've got Snapchat, Instagram, I have a blog. I'll actually be doing a blog post on this subject as well, for those of you who might prefer having some reading material to reference versus just watching the videos that I put out. Please consider subscribing and sharing my videos and my content to your friends and family. I am trying to grow my audience base and make this channel a little bit bigger and have a wider reach, and I can only do that with your help. Once again, I appreciate every single one of you that tunes in on my weekly rambling videos. I am Little Red, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao!